countdown begin. Raze back live again. Pop culture, entertainment, of course, the hot topics. Traveling somewhere in the tropics. Usually preserved for smoke show panels, $1 million plays. We expanding the channel, they say opinions like assholes. Watch your mouth at all times and don't mess up the cash flow. We live.
What up? What up? Hit that like button, guys. Salute, salute. Raze back live again on this Friday, noontime live stream, guys. Hit the like button. Shout out to my guy Ray Elroy. He's in the building. I see you here. Salute to you and your channel, Ray. Shout out to you, Ray Elroy. Guys, the long-awaited drug mule, alleged drug mule, has went on the stand today to testify for the prosecution. But guys, I believe the drug mule may have actually helped the defense a bit here, guys. Hit the like button as you guys come in. Let me see. Salute. Jima's World is in the building. Adric Hopoy is in the building. Shout out to you, Adric Hopoy. All right. Shout out to Auto Will is in the building. What up, Auto Will? The Auto Will. Salute. Salute to the Auto Will. Is here. Hit the like button, as Auto Will says. Like I said, shout out to Ray Elroy. Check out his channel. You know, his channel, guys. Check out his channel. Got some of that Cartagena flavor on his channel. Shout out to him. But guys, Brendan Paul, the drug mule, as the media was saying all week, the mule for Diddy, the person that was transporting drugs supposedly to Diddy, using the airplane and this and that, acting like this guy was working for Pablo Escobar, meaning Diddy was Pablo Escobar. But hit the like button, guys. K9 No Fear Travel in the building. Shout out to you, K9, with the $1.99 donation to Raze Survey Sub Fund. Oh man, we're gonna be traveling. We're gonna get back to travel. This case is about to end, guys. About to wind down. Thank you for that $1.99. Shout out to K9 and his channel. I see he went live yesterday. He's going to be going live tonight, actually, also. Shout out to you, K9, No Fear Travel. I mean, I'm intrigued to see what in the world kind of, live stream you got tonight. Is some kind of, I think it said the magic box type thing. Magic. I don't know. I don't know what you got. But I got to take a look at that tonight, though, K9. Shout out to you, K9, your channel, $1.99 donation. Well, Brendan Paul, guys, this guy went on the stand today. And he testified. He said some things. Shout out to Yerp. He said some things today that actually helped out Diddy, guys. Now, I'm going to tell you, the prosecutors was asking him some questions. You know, they were trying to really get him to say some stuff that are really bury Diddy. Now, your guess is as good as mine. How will the jurors take to his testimony? But I believe he helped. He helped Diddy at one point, at a couple of points here. One point, he mentioned Jane. You know, Jane Doe, the lady that said she was, coerced into doing those freak offs for like 3 years, and Diddy was paying her $10,000 a month, her rent and stuff like that. And he said that he spoke to Jane a few times before those freak offs. And each time, Jane never complained about doing the freak offs. So Paul talked to Jane Doe, and Jane never mentioned to him about she did not want to do the freak offs. He would talk to her like a day before the freak offs and, explain to her what was going to go down and this and that. And she, according to him, the drug mule, said that Jane never complained. And this was on, cross-examination by Diddy's team, Brian Still. Well, let's go. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna get into the Fat Joe stuff on another live, Autowell. I'm gonna get into the Fat Joe stuff on another live. That's for sure. That's wild right there. That lawsuit. But yeah. So this was the prosecution from earlier, asking Brendan Paul these questions a little. What is in the photo? Asked the prosecutor. Then Brendan Paul said, "My hand." with ecstasy and Tootsie, pink cocaine. Yeah, now y'all know that pink cocaine is out there inside Colombia, that Tootsie. So the prosecutor then asked, why did you take the photo? Then Paul said to ask the staff what to do with it after I found it. I was told to put it in his bag. Prosecutor, did you buy marijuana for Diddy? Paul says yes, in which obvious he was the person that was buying personal use drugs, guys. Personal use drugs for Diddy. So, all right. Assistant testifies to buying drugs for Combs. All right. Brendan Paul, Combs' former assistant, testifies that he saw Combs use drugs, including cocaine, ketamine, ecstasy, and marijuana, and about once a month. But there were other times he seemed high. Okay. The jury saw a photo Paul took early in his employment of ecstasy, all right, of a powder form of ketamine and Molly that was dyed pink. All right. Paul said Combs or another assistant would tell him to obtain drugs for Combs. Okay. He testified he would buy marijuana about every 2 months, paying $4,200, okay, for 16 ounces. He said he purchased the marijuana from Phillips Pines, one of Combs' previous assistants. Okay. Hit the like button, guys. You guys come in. Hit the like button. Paul said he bought other drugs, right, for Combs, fewer than 10 times. He testified he would sometimes pay about $300 to $500 for 1 or 2 grams of drugs, and other times he would pick up packages without paying for them himself. Okay. All right. So this is some of the information we're getting from the drug mule of Sean Diddy Combs, Paul. Right. On some occasions, Paul texted a drug dealer, and they would come to Combs' home to deliver the drugs. The jury saw messages between Paul, a drug dealer, and another Combs assistant, Jonathan Perez, from February 2024. Paul testified that Perez put him in touch with the dealer to obtain drugs for Combs. All right. Is it for you or Puff? The drug dealer asked in the messages. Okay. Puff, Paul responded, according to the messages read aloud in court. But please don't disclose that. You can't tell whoever you can tell whoever it is for me. So he said, look, it's for Puff, but don't disclose it. Okay. All right, don't disclose that. Tell the person that you're getting the drugs from is for him. It's for Paul himself. Don't say it's for Puff. All right. Paul said once he received drugs, he would give them to Combs directly or put them in a Gucci pouch. All right, where the drugs were stored. Paul testified he would pick up prescription drugs for Combs at pharmacies under Combs' real name or alias Frank Black. The jury saw messages Combs sent Paul in February 14, 2024, asking him to get Xanax. Paul testified that Combs didn't have a prescription for Xanax, and he wasn't able to obtain the drugs. Okay, so this is the drug mule, guys. Paul testifying. Well, he finished testifying in the courtroom today. He was cross-examined by Brian Steele, and now I'm gonna get into the part where he said he was not a drug mule. Remember, this is about drug trafficking. This is the drug trafficking portion of the RICO, racketeering, conspiracy, saying Diddy's organization, his Bad Boy Records, is a criminal enterprise, right? The prosecution is trying to put it out there that Diddy was drug trafficking, and this Brendan Paul guy was a drug mule. As you see, the drugs that were purchased from courtesy of Brendan Paul and given to Diddy was for Diddy's personal use. Now, Diddy did distribute the drugs, to party goers and to his girlfriends, right? He didn't sell them. He distributed it. Like he gave them out. He handed them out like they were party favors, right? They were getting high. So that's the play right there. That is what Paul is testifying to. But the prosecution and the feds are trying to say that this is drug trafficking. This is drug trafficking. Now people have their different. Well, it's in the law. It says, look, if you hand out drugs, if you give drugs, even if you're not selling them, you are distributing, right? You are distributing. Um, People are hyping it up as this guy was Diddy's drug mule, right? Now, Brian Still, on cross examination, asked him outright, were you Diddy's drug mule? Paul said, no, I was not Diddy's drug mule, right? And I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that because that's very important, because he's like, he's saying he wasn't a drug mule, a classic drug mule, somebody that's like taking drugs across the border to smuggle drugs into the states to sell in the streets of the USA. The classic drug mule type situation. You're taking drug on a plane, whatever, to distribute drugs on the streets of USA. Now, there's this, and I've been saying there's different levels to this stuff, right? There's different levels to this. And technically, yeah, I mean, you could say he was, distributing drugs to Diddy himself for his own personal use and people at his party. Are you going to give him, and I go back, are you going to give him 15 years to life for that? That's the issue. The sentencing guidelines, and I have the sentencing guidelines I'm going to get into. If you are found guilty of RICO racketeering, these guidelines say 15 years minimum for the, just engaging in prostitution up to 10 years. And then sex trafficking is 10 years minimum. Actually 15 years minimum for sex trafficking, as far as paying the prostitutes money to cross state lines. So are you willing as a juror to give the guy to find him guilty, knowing that the minimums of sentencing is about 15 years for the racketeering portion of this? So let me see. All right. Shout out to Yerp is in the building. Salute to you, Yerp. Like I said, Fat Joe is gonna, man, that Fat Joe stuff is wild. I'm gonna get into that like on another stream later on. Shout out to Jay White is in the building. Shout out to you. Oh yeah, Columbia scary, very scary, says Jay White. Okay, Zed Bates, you can't believe everything he says. He's trying to save face for his family. They were having freak offs every week. He said there was no criminal activity going on at all. Now, Zeb, yeah, like I said, Paul was on the stand testifying, Zeb. He did testify that he was stopped at the airport one time after cleaning, not at at the airport, yeah. And he was about to board a Diddy private jet, right? And he testified that he had some drugs, right, that he put in his bag after cleaning up Diddy's hotel room, and he had it on him mistakenly, right? As he was boarding the plane, he got arrested for that, right? And he didn't say it was Diddy's drugs, and he got off though eventually because he just had to go to a drug program, and he said he had a good lawyer, and he didn't say it was Diddy's. It wasn't drugs he had from Diddy's hotel room. So he explained his case of why he got arrested for drugs. And he said it was Diddy's drugs, but he put Diddy's drugs inside his bag and he forgot he left it there while he left it there after he cleaned up Diddy's mess in his hotel. So he wasn't actually transporting drugs for Diddy at that time. You know what I'm saying? So the prosecution was trying to put it out there that he was transporting drugs for Diddy on an airplane. But he testified now, as well, up to the jury if they want to believe him or not. But he said, look, that wasn't the case. That was not the case, and he wasn't trying to transport drugs for Diddy on the plane. You get what I'm saying? So I'm just going by his testimony, Zeb. You know what I mean? You can't beat the feds. Now, True Angel 33. Yes. The thing is, this RICO racketeering, it's like they drop an atomic bomb on you, man. It's hard to beat this because technically, just giving drugs to your friends, which Diddy did, and the party goers is, distribution, right? But he wasn't selling it at all. He wasn't selling them. I would say this, and Diddy's team is going to more than likely next week be like, hey, our guy was an addict. You could say his friends was an addict. The prosecution is trying to say he coerced his friends to do the drugs. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be interesting to see how Diddy's team goes back at the prosecutors next week, because the prosecution is about to rest their case. They put another surprise witness up there, another special agent. So they won't be resting their case today, I don't believe, because it's supposed to end at 1:00 today. So next week they will be resting their case, and then Diddy's defense team is going to make their case why he's not guilty. They're going to have about 2 witnesses to testify on Diddy's behalf. One of them is going to be a former chief of staff employee, is going to testify on behalf of Diddy. And Diddy's team, they said they're only going to need like a week. They said like 3 to 5 days they're going to need to put the case out there that Diddy is not guilty. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, my guess is that they're going to say, look, this is just, guys were, having too much fun. Yes, they did drugs, drug possession and stuff like that. But, he was not distributing drugs in a classic way of selling drugs to people and this and that and profiting from it and hoping to, put it out there in front of those 12 jurors that, look, this is not as serious as the government is trying to make it seem. So if he's so innocent, why would he take that plea for immunity? That's what rubbed me the wrong way. Yeah, they all took the immunity pleas. Zeb Bates, it's understandable that this guy would take the plea. Take the immunity. Brendan Paul, I can understand why he would take the immunity because he doesn't want to be. Look, these guys are scared. They don't want to get hit with no drug trafficking charges. Buying, distributing at parties, but not selling. All the rich people do that, 10 to 15 years for that. Yeah, and the thing, buying, that's why if I was a juror, I would have a tough time finding him guilty, knowing what he's facing, 10, 15 years, 15 years to life. The judge would have no choice but to sentence him to those minimums, right? That's the issue. And as a juror, and this is why I always said I think they probably overcharged them. I think they should have just went for the normal charging of the charges. That way he could be sentenced properly. That way, if I was a juror, I'd be more inclined to find him guilty on some of these charges. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I want to see like 15 years. Like I said, once they didn't have the A minors anymore, they didn't, nobody said they were underage, came up there and testified. The prosecution did not call anybody, and they didn't add, underage stuff to the charges like R. Kelly. R. Kelly actually had dealing with minors in the charges. I haven't seen any of that, in this trial. We've seen it in the lawsuits, but lawsuits, people file lawsuits all the time trying to get money and saying this and that. So, but as far as on trial, when you got to go up there and testify under oath during a criminal trial, I have not seen any allegation of any minors or underage on this one. So I'm like, well, I don't feel comfortable putting this guy in jail 15 years to life for his freak offs and and his drug use, basically. Because it's like, well, normally the drug dealer gets more time than the drug user, right? And basically, Diddy was a drug user. Hit the like button, guys. You guys come in. Diddy was a drug user who did encourage, party goers to do drugs with him to have a great time. But these are all grown folks. It's not, I don't see anything about him giving underage people drugs. Now, you could say coercion. That's what the prosecution saying, coercion, which could be true. But, it's like grown folks, yet again, you got the free will to say no. Just say no. Nancy Reagan, right? The Nancy Reagan campaign. So it's like, it's like all these people wanted to be around Diddy. They wanted to be in a lifestyle. They wanted to be around the movers and shakers in Hollywood, right? Hollyweird. You know, they wanted to be around all that. They could have stayed away. And, you know, let me see. 50 Cent will punch the air if Diddy gets acquitted. He's guilty. Like I said, I'm thinking, guys, I wouldn't mind if he was to do a plea deal, 3 years, 10 years probation. Like I said, Young Thug got 15 years probation for his racketeering, state racketeering trial. I think, and that trial had, you know, alleged, you know, shootouts and alleged, you know, unalivings, you know, allegedly, you know, which was read out in the court. But and Young Thug got 15 years probation. I would not be against Diddy doing some time. 3 years, 10 years probation, right? As for a plea deal. The thing is, if he's found convicted, the judge can't sentence him to that because there's minimums. You guys get it? So if he was to only get 3 years, 3 to 5 years, it would have to come in form of a plea deal. So plea deal, 3 years, probably time served right now, which is a year. So 2 years left and 10 years probation. I think that'll be fair. Because like I said, I don't see this as a classic RICO racketeering case. Technically, the way they got it written, it is, but it's not classic. It's not the type of case that I'm looking to give the guy 15 years to life in prison. It's not that type of case, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? It's just not. It's not the Gottis. It's not Pablo Escobar type drug trafficking. It's not that. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion. Why Hove? He gonna get 5 years at most. All these charges, they charged him with some BS. Says why Hove? So overcharged. So you say overcharged. He worked for this man for the inspirational album Love, and he loved every bit of it. Never seen nothing illegal done. He doesn't know anything, according to Paul, student athlete from rich family. He can't be guilty, right? Well, he asked for immunity, so he can't. Yeah. What up, fake Miko? JM. Hey, Raze, can you talk about Joe catching a RICO case? Yeah, we're gonna do that on a whole nother stream because this is just so much right now. It's so much, you know, with this Paul stuff, the drug mule, that people was waiting for the drug mule. So I said, let me not add this one with the Fat Joe case right now. I could, but it'd be much longer. But I save the Fat Joe stuff for later on today in another live stream. It was a smear campaign for the jump. This was never a RICO case. Yeah, you know, like I said, once I heard about the A minors and stuff like that when he first got arrested, I was like, oh man, Diddy is done. Diddy is like, and in the court of public opinion, you know, hey, they like, look, is this another R. Kelly type thing? This is freaks and stuff doing freakish stuff to minors, you know what I'm saying, and consenting adults. But when you throw the minors in there, you know, they can't consent. You know what I'm saying? So you're like, well, he's automatic guilty. But it's like now it's like they all definitely wanted to be around that billionaire lifestyle, but that comes with being a co-conspirator. So all of them guilty because a billionaire lifestyle, we all know, is nothing but crime. Well, Zeb, yeah, but they've been all given immunity and they're not getting charged. They're not going to jail. Diddy is the only person going to jail for this, you know, if he gets convicted. And I'm like, and I keep continuing to say, well, if it's that big of a deal, then they all should be like, you know, brung up on charges. If the prostitution is that big of a deal, sex trafficking, that means the Punisher, all those guys that engage in the prostitution should be held up on charges also. You know, now I read that, you know, engaging in prostitution carries a sentence of up to 10 years. That's just the engaging in prostitution, not the sex trafficking part, you know, going across state lines. Going across state lines is the minimum of, I think, 15 years. You know, bringing people across state lines, minimum. Sex trafficking, if you convicted. So that's why I would have a tough time actually finding him guilty. That's why I'm saying, look, if you get one of the jurors to not agree with the way the law is written up, they could practice jury nullification. Jury nullification is where a juror could say not guilty on the basis of not agreeing with the law, right? That the person is indicted on. And if y'all Google that, jury nullification, that's a real thing. So by the feds overcharging Diddy and trying to get him on a RICO conspiracy, over exaggerating the charges, all you need is one lone juror to say, you know what, I don't like that, and find him not guilty. I still think it's not going to get to the jury, though. I think they're going to come and do a plea deal. Fat Joe said it at best. Lots of celebrities and people going down. Free Diddy says Raven fan. Shout out to you. Diddy is still done in the court of public opinion. AJ Quiet, I'd rather be done in the court of public opinion and still have my millions and be free than to have everybody in the public opinion say I'm not guilty and I still get convicted doing 15 years of life. Oh man, despite them overcharging. You can't make grown people do nothing. Now this is where I'm coming into it, like, well, these are all grown people. These are all grown people, grown folks. And if they all participated in that stuff, that means either you gotta charge some of these other people too. I mean, Diddy can't be the only person charged, then, right? I mean, they could do whatever they want, but it's like, if it's that big a deal, the drug use at the freak offs, if it's that big a deal, Now, I would say this, Diddy having his people, his employers, his employees, purchase drugs for him, that's kind of messed up, for him to do, put them in that situation where they can get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, he's not innocent, like 100% of. He's guilty of some crimes. I just like charge him properly. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I wouldn't mind three years and let him sit for 3 years in prison. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that. 3 years in prison. Now the assault stuff on Cassie, that's not in the indictment, so that's the problem with that. So it's like, but I wouldn't mind him sitting 3 years, time served right now, 10 years probation. A pimp outside of Seattle got sentenced to 35 years for sex trafficking. Wow, man, that is wild. No, Kenneth, he's not. This is not R. Kelly. I was thinking it was gonna be like the R. Kelly. R. Kelly was actually convicted on dealing with the minors, and what I'm saying, he actually had charges for that. Diddy has it. To my surprise, I thought it was gonna be something a little different. Salute, Drop-a-Knot. Salute to you. Renee says you can make grown people do things for you. Yeah, you Renee, you can. But they, my but those is all personal drug use and this and that, which is just crime. It is a crime, Renee. It is a crime. That's what I'm saying, hey, I need Diddy to walk free, without any jail time. I'm not saying that at all, Renee. I'm just saying, I think the charges are over exaggerated. I don't believe they needed to do a RICO, but hey, it is what it is. He blackmailed them with video saying that way he can keep them coming back. Yeah, well, listen, there was some testimony to that, as far as Cassie, definitely, she did say that. About the blackmail of the video. Like I said, like I said, I wouldn't mind them sitting, doing some years up in prison, But like I said, it's not a 15 years of life sentence for me, It's just them minimums, them sentencing guideline minimums, you know what I'm saying? I would never say that. I never said Diddy was a good guy. Diddy just likes baby oil. Charles Balls. That pimp snitched on himself on social media, says Ottawell. Well, that's social media is the downfall of a lot of people. Social media gets a lot of people caught up, get them jammed up, self snitching. You know, yeah, you can for money, duh. She trolling, and if took the money, then Diddy's gonna kiss the baby. Hit that like button, guys. Now, Brendan Paul guy, right? Former assistant says working for Combs was good for the most part. Defense attorney Brian Steele asked Brendan Paul, a former assistant for Sean Diddy Combs, if he would work for a criminal. Then Brendan Paul said, absolutely not, Paul testified. Then Brian Steele asked Paul if he felt indebted to Combs for all the experience he received working for him. I guess, what do you mean by indebted? Paul responded. Then Diddy's lawyer, Brian Steele, asked if Paul had learned a lot from Combs, and Paul confirmed he had. Brian Steele then asked if he had good experiences working for Combs. Okay, so, and he said yes. He had some good experiences working for Combs. He learned a lot from Combs. Okay, so that was some of the cross-examination from Brian Steele on the Brendan Paul fella. Let me see what else. Hit the like button, though, guys. Hit the like button. Give Diddy some type of long-term probation, like 5 years. Well, ever buying. Yeah, some people say, he should just do probation. Some people say, you know, he should like sit a few years. I wouldn't mind if he actually sat a few years. I mean, I'm not gonna sit up here and say, he's 100%, a good fella, a good person. You know what I'm saying? But hey, if he only got probation, it is what it is. You know what I mean? If he only gets probation, like I said, I've seen people Young Thug only got probation. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just not giving him 15 years of life because I don't believe that this rises to that. I don't believe, because a lot of this stuff, was domestic disputes with his girlfriends. You know what I mean? I mean, illegal stuff did happen between him and his girlfriends, Jane and Cassie Ventura. Toxic relationship. Illegal stuff did happen, but it's like, I mean, I don't think that needed a RICO to get him on a charge for that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it needed a RICO. Racketeering, 15 years minimum, up to life. Nah. In my opinion, this ain't a 15-year crime. Yeah, like I said, yeah, I don't think, yeah, like I said, I don't think it is 15 years, 15-year crime. But as Arthur Will said, a pimp got 35 years in one of those states. So yeah, Arthur Will, you're right about Pop Smoke situation. Yeah, social media could be the death of people, man. Probation with very strict rules, though. Can't buy baby or you curfew. Stay sober. Can't buy baby or you, man. That's why. Oh man. All right. Let's see let's see what else. Brendan Paul testifies Wild King night stopped at hotels after Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit. Brendan Paul, Sean Diddy Combs' former chief of staff, Karina. All right. Didn't really want him involved in Wild Nights for some reason, but he set up. All right, so wait a minute. All right. Yeah, they had something called Wild Nights, guys. Freak off nights, Wild Nights that Paul was setting up. Paul said he only recalled Jane, one of Combs' accusers, participating in Wild King Nights with Combs during his tenure. Paul testified his understanding of wild nights to include partying, alcohol, sex, drugs. The nights were at hotel during the beginning of the time with Combs. Uh, Paul testified, but Combs stopped having them at hotels after the Cassie lawsuit. Okay. Uh, and like I said, Paul did testify that Jane never said anything to him about not wanting to do the freak offs, the hotel nights with Diddy and the other sex, men that were in that hotel. So he did help Diddy with that testimony. Like I said, it's going to come down to those 12 jurors. All he needs is one or two to say, look, this is overreach. This is I don't want to see Diddy in jail for 15 years, because that's pretty much the only thing. I think Diddy's defense team next week is going to be like, look, this is an overreach. This is an over exaggeration, and try to put it inside the jurors' heads that, look, this should not be worth 15 years of life in prison. I mean, that's pretty much, and Diddy's defense team is only going to have like 3 to 5 days. They said we only need 3 to 5 days for this, and then we're going to rest our case. The prosecution is going to rest their case more than likely on Monday, and Diddy's defense team is going to do their thing for like 3 to 5 days, and that's it. Trial over. We're going to go to the jury verdict or a plea deal. I'm suspecting a plea deal, though. My prediction is the plea deal. What is y'all's? I think plea deal, 3 years, time served, 10 years probation. Bobby Shmurda needs to stop going on Vlad interviews, or he may accidentally snitch on himself again. Yeah, well, yeah, I be seeing that. I be seeing Bobby Shmurda on Vlad TV. Yeah, Vlad TV again, right? You go there. A lot of people self snitch on Vlad TV. If Diddy gets out and returns to freak offs, how many women do you think will be on board knowing what we know now? Interesting. I think he would still get some to go. I think, yeah, he would definitely get some women to go, because women and humans in general are in desperate situations, and they be like, well, I got nothing to lose. A lot of people in life, Drew, in America, whatever, or even abroad, they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. They're like, well, he still got money. I could get some money out of him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he would still get women to go to those freak offs, Drew. Definitely, 100%. That's what humans do. Humans will continue to do that. Humans for money. Humans do a lot of stuff for money. 10 years probation is too much. Well, Edris Primos, like, I think they overcharged him, but the feds want this guy. The feds want him. It's hard to beat a RICO racketeering. I don't think they should have dropped the atomic bomb on him, but they did. I think the feds want to have some big time numbers on him, even if it's just probation, right? I don't think the feds going to do all of this and just plea deal down to just 5 years probation. I think they're going to want 10 to 15 years probation, and probably time served, at least, and probably add another year or two in a plea deal. I mean, I don't like that they dropped the full hammer of the federal RICO racketeering, though. I don't like it, but it is what it is. It is what it is. They dropped it on them. They dropped the hammer on them. So, I mean, nothing he could do about that right now besides try to get the best plea deal, possible. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna get all 12 jurors to find him guilty on like sex trafficking, and that's. I'm gonna read the indictments. I'm gonna read the indictments to you guys and what he's facing. Actually, I was thinking about 7 years behind bars than 5 years probation, but I agree it's a trap longer probation. It's just they spent too much money on this case just to let him walk with 5 years probation. Yeah. Now 7 years. See, the thing is that the Cassie assault stuff doesn't come into play because that's not part of the case. That would have been easy to find him guilty on that, the Cassie assault stuff. So you thinking about 7 years? I'm thinking 3 years, 3 to 5 years, time served, eligible for parole at the third year, probation 10 years. No way 15 years. That my whole thing was, guys, no way this is 15 years to life thing, but the minimum say 15 years to life. The minimum sentence the judge can grant him if he's found guilty on the racketeering portion and on the sex trafficking portion, which technically he did sex traffic because he had the prostitutes, consenting adults, travel across state lines. I don't agree with that law at all. Like I said, if I was in the jury, I would practice jury nullification and find him not guilty of that. I know I'll probably piss off the other jurors if they do want to find him guilty, but hey, it is what it is. Me knowing that he's facing 15 years to life, I would not find him guilty. I'm like, well, and then I as a juror, I'll go ahead and make my money doing interviews after. I'm like, hey, and I give my reason why I found him not guilty. I'm like, well, he was overcharged. And the overcharging is only because the minimums, guys. I'm saying the overcharging is because of the minimums, 15 years of life in prison for these charges. That's why I say it's overcharging. If you were to tell me, like Zeb was saying, like 3 to 7 years, I'm like, okay, I like that better. So I can find him guilty. I'd be more inclined to find him guilty because now it's going to be up to the judge to sentence him. And the judge will have the opportunity to only give him 3 to 7 years, not 15 to life. You get what I'm saying? If y'all understand what I'm saying? See, I would be more inclined to find him guilty on the federal racketeering and stuff like that if the sentencing guidelines were way less. 3 years minimum. I'm like, all right, maybe the judge would just sentence him to 3 years, 3 to 7, whatever. But 15 years to life for this type of RICO racket, nah. In my opinion, though. It's only my opinion, though, guys. Y'all guys got the right to y'all opinion. I appreciate you guys. You know what I'm saying? Let me get to the exact quote about him saying he was not a drug mule. Actually, let me see. I'll bring it up. Because Brian still asked him outright, you know what I'm saying? Outright, y'all got, were you a drug mule? He said no, All right, Paul said his heart dropped when agent discovered cocaine in his travel bag. During cross-examination, defense attorney Brian Steele asked former Combs assistant Brendan Paul about his arrest on March 25th, 2024. Paul confirmed his arrest was for a small amount of cocaine for Combs' personal use that Paul had accidentally left in his travel bag. He said he accidentally left it inside his travel bag, guys. Neither Combs nor Chief of Staff Christina Karam asked him to travel with the cocaine, Paul testified. Paul recalled telling law enforcement that everything in the bag was his, and then his heart dropped when the agent pulled the cocaine out of his bag because he didn't mean to travel with it. So that was his testimony right there, guys. He said Diddy nor Christina Karam told him to travel on a plane with the drugs, according to him, his testimony. Okay. Defense attorney Brian Steele started his cross-examination on Sean Diddy. All right, so I read that. All right. He asked Brendan Paul about his background. Brian Steele, Diddy's attorney, mentioned Paul walked on to the Syracuse University basketball team. Yeah, he was a walk-on. This Brendan Paul was a walk-on for Syracuse University basketball team. Brendan Paul confirmed that he works hard and strives for perfection. He said He was willing to work long hours for Sean Diddy Combs and learn from the exposure he got to the music industry through Sean Diddy Combs. Paul confirmed that handling drugs was a minor part of all the work he did for Sean Diddy Combs. This is key. The alleged drug mule, Paul, confirmed that handling drugs was only a minor part of all the work he did for Combs. Then Diddy's lawyer, Brian Still, asks, "You were not some drug mule, right?" Defense attorney Brian Still asks. Brian Paul responded, "Absolutely not." And there you have it. There you have it. Absolutely not. And that right there, because like I said, the media, everybody is framing it as this guy, Brendan Paul, was Diddy's drug mule. He says, absolutely not. That was only a minor portion of my duties for Diddy. He was absolutely not a drug mule. Like I said, person who used drugs, small amounts of drugs, he would buy, which it is a crime, guys. I'm not saying it's not a crime, but to frame it as he's Pablo Escobar's drug mule, transporting kilos of coke across state lines to distribute on the streets of America, that's not that. So that's why I'm saying it's not a 15 years to life type thing. Let him sit for 3 years, 10 years probation, call it a day. But who am I? Who am I? I'm just Raze. I'm just sitting here, you know what I'm saying? Giving y'all the info of what happened out there on the stand today. Also says Combs wanted his assistant to operate like SEAL Team 6. Brendan Paul testified that his mission was to make sure Sean Diddy Combs was always happy. He said that Combs told his assistants they should operate like SEAL Team 6. Okay. Paul said he was fired a couple of times, and he testified about an incident that sticks out where he forgot to put the Astroglide inside of his fanny pack when Diddy was going on a walk, on a jog, whatever. And then Diddy told him to call KK and tell KK that he's fired or whatever. So yeah. So he was fired a couple of times and brought back also. So they only have to prove 2 RICO predicates. Yes, you're right about that, HU. I still say that I don't think this is 15 years the life type stuff. Like I said, that those RICO racketeering charges, man, it just like so. It just. Let me see. Paul testified that Combs asked him to try drugs, and he did it to prove his loyalty. All right. I felt euphoric, but did not feel the full effect. He asked if it was good. I said yes, and then I kept working. He said, yeah, and like I said, people will say that's coercion by Diddy to have these guys take drugs, but I still say these weren't minors. They weren't minors. They were adults that were taking the drugs to make Diddy happy, I guess, to party with him, to be around him, to collect money. He said he was making $75,000 a year, and then it rose to $100,000 a year. This Brendan Paul guy, so he was making a good salary. He was in the life. He was in, it's like grown adult. How much time for a race serial number? MK. That thing with that race serial number, I don't know. That's there was one of the race serial number was on one of the guns, not all of them, but one of the guns inside of his security room inside the Florida house. So I don't know, but let me see. I got some minimums for the other stuff, for the other charges. He used his business to buy drugs. Yes, you're right. Like I said, a crime was committed, bro. HU. I'm not saying a crime was committed, but it's not 15 years to life type crimes, in my opinion. because he didn't distribute it as far as selling it. Now he distributed it to his friends and people at the thing for personal use, but not to sell it to gain profit, anything like that. I think there's different. I know there's differences. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it is what it is. You know, I mean, I don't see this as 15 years to life in prison, but hey, you can have your opinion, HU grad. The messed up part is that they're considering this sex trafficking when it's real sex trafficking going on and people really being held captive, but they trying to tie this into that title. Yes, it's a shame. It's a shame. And this carries 15 years minimum. I'm going to get to those minimums in a minute because I have the minimums. And this is why I would find him not guilty, because I believe it's over exaggerated. I believe if you charge him properly, I would have no problem of finding him guilty. That way he could be sentenced properly. You know what I'm saying? If I'm on a juror, I would practice jury nullification because I would have no choice but to find him not guilty. I'm not giving this guy 15 years to life for this. I'm just not doing that. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. If the jurors do find him guilty, or 12, he will be doing 15 years to life. He will be doing 15. And technically, it is drug traffic. I mean, S trafficking. It is S trafficking, you know. And I guess with the drugs, man, I mean, technically, see, these are all technicalities, and you know, but the judge would have no choice to sentence him to those minimums of the RICO racketeering. That's the thing. That's the problem with it. You know what I mean? We know Diddy is a user. He's a drug user, and I'm like, well, normally the drug dealer is the one that get the most time. The drug users, which Diddy is a drug user, his friends is a drug user. They more so get like you know, a little bit of time, whatever, and then got to do drug rehab, drug program. You know what I'm saying? Probation, drug probation. Not Diddy. Diddy bought drugs, definitely. Possessing of drugs, definitely. 15 years of life they want Diddy to do. You know, it is what it is. I mean, I'm just keeping it real, guys. I mean, I'm like, he is a known addict. You know, he is a rich known addict, same as other celebrities that bought drugs. Are you giving them 15 years of life for that? I mean, normally the person that sold them the drugs would be supposed to be in more trouble, right? But I digress. Shout out to Ronin Travelers in the building. Salute to you, Ronin. How you doing? How you doing? He paying for services, says Michael Jordan. Yeah, he was paying for services. Yeah, he was paying for the prostitutes, paying for the drugs. He wasn't using the prostitutes to gain profit. He wasn't buying the drugs to resell and gain profit. Therefore, I look at it a little bit differently. I don't know, some people probably won't, but I do. And I would not find him guilty to put him in jail for 15 years of life. I just wouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't do that. And like I said, I would have if the A minors came up, if it was a bunch of underage people in it, then I'd be like, yeah, I bury him. You know what I'm saying? Bury him. But you know, come to find out, there is no A minors involved, no underage people involved. These are all consenting freakazoid adults doing drugs and engaging in prostitution, which is illegal, but I'm not giving 15 years to life. Like I said, shout out my guy Ronin Travelers. Hit that like button. That's like saying only shot a few people for puff. I'm not a shooter. Now, if you talk about shooting people, you're talking about murder and stuff like that. That's a whole different ball game. Now you talk about hiring people to shoot people, and so that's 15 years of life type stuff. You know, that's what a Young Thug was accused of. And guess what? Young Thug only got HU. Guess what Young Thug only got? He got 15 years probation. Young Thug. Oh. And guess who was the attorney? Guess who was the attorney Young Thug had in that state RICO racketeering case? Brian Steele, the guy who crosses him and the poor guy today, right there. Hit the like button, guys. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Oh man, we just covered the Diddy trial, guys. There is another person testifying on the stand today. Besides the Paul, we thought Paul was going to be the final witness, but the prosecutors brought in another witness, a federal agent, testifying. So I have another update later on tonight, and I'll mix that in with the Fat Joe stuff later on tonight for you guys in another live. But let's look at what's going on as far as the charges and the minimums, guys. I made sure I say that. Hit the like button, though, guys. Hit the like button. Yeah, Fat Joe. Yeah, Fat Joe. I'm going to the Fat Joe stuff later on tonight. And another thing, the problem is he used his business to buy these drugs and his employees working. Yeah, and in HU grad, I understand that. But is it 15 years of life? I mean, they were all partying. They were all adults. It was 15 years of life in jail for that. It's not. It's like I don't see it. I don't see it. I see crimes. I do see crimes. My issue is the whole 15 years of life. HU grad. That's my biggest issue. I know there's crimes committed. HU grad. I'm not stupid. I know there, and it's a bad look for you to. Like I said, it's a bad look to have his employees buy drugs and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's a bad look. That's being a bad boss. You know what I mean? You putting your people in a position to buy drugs. You know what I'm saying? For you, they can get in trouble doing that. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a bad look. That's what I'm saying. I don't mind them sitting 3 years, 1 year, time served. So 2 years and 10 years probation. Call it a day. I'm just saying it's not 15 years of life type stuff. Shout out to you, Jazzy P Jones in the building. Salute, Jazzy P. All is good. Salute to you. All is good in the hood, Jazzy P Jones. Shout out to subscribe to Jazzy P Jones channel too. Subscribe to Jazzy P Jones. Now I'm gonna read the indictments. You said 10 years minimum for defacing serial numbers. 10 years. Well, let me read to you what he's actually. Only 15 years probation. If they give Puff 15 years probation, he'll be back in prison in a month. Because he's gonna continue doing the freak offs and stuff. He can't stay away from them girls and the drugs, I guess. Yeah, because you're gonna continue to doing the drug stuff, right? The drugs and well, hey, and Mac, listen. Yes, I have the full Cassie audio. I'm gonna do that on another live. I didn't want to mix all that up. I was going to come live yesterday, but I didn't have time to come live. I was going to do the Cassie audio yesterday when she threatened to unalive that person because he said he had a tape of her and Wu Kid getting a freak off on, and she wanted that tape and this and that. And so she was threatening him to unalive him. But that was a wild. That was a. I got it. I got that audio, but I'm gonna save that for a whole nother one. I'm gonna say that for a whole nother live stream. And shout out to Jazzy P Jones. That's a channel right there. Subscribe to Jazzy P Jones channel. Hit that like button. Now let's see exactly what Diddy is facing, right? And these are the accounts in the indictment: arson, bribery of witness tampering, forced labor, sex trafficking, prostitution, drug distribution. Okay. Now, this is what he's facing in the indictment. Okay. Now, here is the witnesses that testified for the arson: Kid Cudi, Capricorn Clark, Los Angeles Fire Department, LAFD, Christopher, and Cassie Ventura. All right. Bribery of witness. Here's the witnesses that testified: Kerry Morgan, Israel Flores. Witness tampering. The people that testified were Kerry Morgan, Regina Ventura, Capricorn Clark, Kid Cudi, Mia. All right. Forced labor. Here's the people that testified of forced labor: Mia, Cassie, George Kaplan, Deontay Nash. Okay. For sex trafficking, the people that testified were the witnesses were Cassie, Mia, Israel Flores, Danielle Phillip, Derek James, Georgie, Myla Morales, Sheree Hayes, the Punisher. Okay. For prostitution, Daniel Phillip, Sheree Hayes, aka the Punisher, Cassie Ventura, George Kaplan, and Frederick Zimick. For drug distribution, the people that witnessed Cassie Ventura, David James, Agent Yasmin Binda, George Kaplan, Capricorn Clark, and now the Brendan Paul guy. Okay, hit the like button, guys. Hit the like button. Razor got the RICO chart. Yeah, I got the RICO chart, man. I just want to explain what's going on. You know what I'm saying? You know, now racketeering conspiracy. This is how. All right, racketeering conspiracy. All right, one count. He is looking at racketeering conspiracy. One count of racketeering conspiracy right here, guys. Okay, racketeering conspiracy. One count. Allegations involve victim number 2 and victim number 3. So who was victim number? I know victim number 1 is Cassie. Was victim number 2 Capricorn Clark? Let me see. All right, hold on. Let me just read it. Related to commercial sex acts as part of a pattern of criminal activity / RICO. Okay, so the allegations involved in racketeering conspiracy, one count. So he's charged of one count, guys. All right, I'm reading off the charges. Racketeering conspiracy, one count. He's charged with. Allegations involving victim number 2 and victim number 3 related to commercial sex acts as part of pattern of criminal activity RICO. Now, guys, see, they bringing a RICO for these sex acts. Now, some people won't agree that RICO should be used in this way, but it is what it is for victim number 2 and victim number 3. Victim number 2, I believe Jane was victim number 4. So victim number 3, I guess, was Brianna, the person that said he dangled her over the balcony, I believe. Is it? Let me see. All right, so let's go. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, 2 counts. So he's also being, for sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, 2 counts he's charged with. So let's take a look. Includes victim number 1, identified as Cassie Ventura. One charge alleges forced labor involving Combs' business employees, including victim number 4, which is Jane, who was allegedly coerced into sexual activity through physical force, psychological harm, financial threats, reputational threats. Also specifies a kidnapping, including an incident involving the use of a firearm. So that's, from, all right, Capricorn Clark, I guess, okay, well, transportation to engage in prostitution, 2 counts. All right, 1 count involves victim number 2 between 2021 and 2024. The 2nd count also involves victim 2 during the same period. Both charges reference victim 1 and victim 3 in connection with the racketeering and prostitution allegations. Okay. All right, guys, are y'all following me? Hit the like button, guys. Hit the like button. Woo Kid was Kid Cudi victim number 3. Oh, what? Wait. Oh, could be. I was just thinking about the females. Bruce M2. You're right. I was just thinking about the females. He could be victim number 3. It doesn't have it stated who was victim number 3 right here. No time is counted towards the sentence. Well, a lot of times they do time served, right? Monkey, the Luffy. Yeah, when they sentence you, they say, well, let's say 5 years in prison, and if you already did 1 year, you start, all right, you could do time served So, all right, 4 years left on the sentence. I've seen that happen. Diddy. How is it looking? Really looking for Diddy? I lost track. Now, let me go into what the sentencing guidelines is for this. If he is convicted, and this is my issue. Like I said, I wouldn't have a problem with finding him guilty if the minimums were lower. Like say 3 years minimum. That way the judge could, if he deemed necessary, sentence him to like 3 years, 3, 5. But these sentencing requirements are high. If convicted, potentially, all right. If he's potentially convicted, guys, all right. Potential penalties could include racketeering conspiracy. All right. Up to 20 years in prison per count. All right. Sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. 15 years to life in prison per count. So the sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. The judge can only sentence him to no less than 15 years to life, guys, for the sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. Those prostitutes that he brought over state lines, technically, that's sex trafficking. Well, it says sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. Would that be coercion? Those adults, those grown adults participating in those freak offs that cross state lines? Or are they saying, you know what? I believe they're saying Cassie and Jane were the ones that were forced and coerced into the sex trafficking, guys. Hit the like button. He is facing 15 years to life. So if the jury, all 12 jurors say, you know what? He did either traffic Jane by force or coercion, or Cassie, Diddy is going to get 15 years to life because the judge can only sentence him to 15 years to life. It's 15 years to life for that. Now, the racketeering conspiracy is up to 20 years in prison per count. But the sex trafficking, guys, yeah. So if it goes to the jury and all 12 find him guilty, he's doing 15 years to life for the sex trafficking. If they find him guilty of the sex trafficking part. Transportation to engage in prostitution, up to 10 years in prison per count. So the judge that have, for the transportation to engage in prostitution, the judge would have more leniency if he wanted to grant some less than 10 years, because that's up to 10 years. But the big one is the sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion. 15 years of life in prison. I say, look, these were consenting adults. I don't think Jane was a victim. Now, the one thing that might bury him is Cassie. You might say that she was a victim. Maybe she was forced and coerced. She was with him for a while, but the thing is, she was his boy. She was his girlfriend for years, going back and forth, toxic relationship. But they might say that she feared them, and she was forced to do certain sex acts. And if the juries say guilty, he's doing 15 years of life, guys, off the sex trafficking alone by force, fraud, and coercion. I don't believe Jane was the same as Cassie, but hey, that's what he's looking at right now. So I laid it out there for you guys, and that's what he's facing, guys. I mean, that is what he's facing. I just wanted to put it out there for you guys. Fraud and coercion for sure. Fraud is selling them dreams. Oh boy, these are grown folks, but hey, fraud is selling them dreams. These are grown folks, but he's not guilty of the trafficking, but he's guilty of transporting and drug distribution. It's gonna be interesting. We only got like one more week left for this, 1 more week and a half or so left of this, guy. So be prepared. It's gonna be a big day. I'm gonna be back out there tomorrow. Well, next week I'll be back out at the court. next week, and it's gonna be a big week because the defense. I'm gonna be out there for the defense as they make their claim and make their case of why he's not guilty of this stuff. It's gonna be interesting. They said they're only gonna do 3 to 5 days of that. They're only gonna have like 2 witnesses. One is gonna be a former employee, and I don't know who the other witness is gonna be to testify in Diddy's defense. And they said they only need like 3 to 5 days for that. Then it's gonna go to the jury, or they're gonna have do a plea deal. I thought Cassie said she liked doing the freak offs just when she wanted to do them. People hyped up the freak offs more than they were, says Bruce M2. And come to find out, other celebrities have been doing freak offs also, as far as, setting up their own freak offs. See, Jane went to another freak off outside of Diddy when they broke up. That's why I don't consider Jane a victim. You know what I'm saying? And she getting $10,000 a month at one point, and still to this day she is. After they love contract, and she kept saying that she's in love with him. So, if the trial drags out a year, no, the trial is ending next week. Next week and a week and a half. We can give it another week and a half for this trial. Monkey the Luffy. If the trial drags out a year, he behaves in court, they might give him the time in trial. The trial can take a year, and if the drugs want to, he could not add that year to the sentence. Yeah, no, well, no, the trial is about to be over. I'm talking about time served as far as him, because he didn't get bail, so he's been in jail for like a year now. He's been in jail for like a year, so that's what I'm saying. Time served. So let's just say if he has a plea down to 3 years, time served, so he has had to serve another 2 years and do 10 years probation. Because he's been in jail for like a whole year now. Taxes, crypto. But we'll see what happens, guys. We'll see what happens. Like I said, Diddy is facing it, man. Diddy is facing it because this is Diddy is facing it. It's gonna be interesting. Free Diddy, says Frederick Hayes. I'm thinking his best bet, because you just never know what the jury is gonna do, and they have been having so many problems with the jurors. His best bet is to really plead down 3 years, 10 years probation. You know what I'm saying? They're saying that the judge spoke to Kanye West. I don't know why the judge would speak to Kanye West, but the judge spoke to Kanye West. I don't know. This trap. Like I said, I'm thinking he's gonna come to a plea deal and plead out. My prediction: 3 years, 10 years probation, call it a day. I don't know if Diddy's defense team will let it get to the jury. I don't know. That's why they play the games, right? That's why they play the games, and we'll see. We'll see next week. I'll be having coverage of it next week. Oh, you're speaking hypothetically? Thank you, Dwayne. All right, guys. So shout out to all you guys. I'll be back live later on. I'll be back later on, and we'll do the Fat Joe. We'll do another update on the Diddy situation. That's why they get paid the big bucks. But 1 week to prove his innocence means no one's coming to speak good Diddy's behalf. Yeah, they only got like two. They said they're only gonna have like two witnesses. Somebody that worked for Diddy and somebody else. And then they're gonna put out their case. Outlining. I guess they're gonna probably plead to the jurors that this should not have been this type of case. This is probably over exaggerated, and this should not have been a federal RICO. I mean, I guess that's pretty much going to be their only defense, really, to try to combat that and try to get one of those jurors to say not guilty. You know what I'm saying? And try to get the jurors not agree with the charges handed out. That's going to be their play. I predict that. I predict that's going to be the play, because that's going to be their only play. Because technically, he did the stuff that's written down as RICO crimes, right? You know what I'm saying? He did the crimes. The defense only play would be to try to get into those jurors' head, like, look, this should not have been a RICO, and these charges are over exaggerated. And look at the minimum. Look at the minimum. You're going to give him 15 years to life for, having some fun with some prostitutes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're gonna have to plead to the jury, like, look, this should not be, our guy should not be getting 15 years of life for this. I mean, that's gonna be their only defense. I mean, it might work. All you need is a couple of those jurors to feel the way I feel about, especially the sex trafficking portion. So, all right, guys, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later on. Salute.